Hello everyone. Getting prepared for this Beasto review. I'm thinking to myself, who could I get to help me with this thing? Obvious answer. Haven't talked to Michael lately on the show. As sad as it is to see a grown man playing with a Godzilla with no tail and a stuffed Bulbasaur, there are worse things. This movie is worse things. Godzilla raids again. Or better known in the United States as Gigantus the Fire Monster.
Japanese or the American version?
Mostly we're going to be reviewing the American version.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's over. Now, about this pathetic turd of a movie. The original movie was a really nicely done, ahead of its time monster flick. Mostly because it didn't delve too much into the propaganda for or against atomic weapons, even though the monster himself was supposedly a living atomic weapon. Now, a lot of that message is getting lost into this sucker. Godzilla Raids Again is not, shall we say, the worst chapter in Godzilla's franchise. However, I will say it is the first weak link. So, yeah, let's start with the plot, shall we? We watch a couple of guys who fly planes for a fishing cannery group and help try and find fish. However, one of their vehicles conks out and he is forced to land. Upon finding out about what happened to his partner, the other guy, the apparent main character, if you will, goes out to find his buddy who had to land his plane because it stopped working. They get there and help the first buddy who had to land his plane dry, only to hear ominous roaring, and unlike a lot of clever movies would do, within the first 5 to 10 minutes of this film are suddenly shown both monsters of the film. Yes, this is the first movie to start the Versus franchise. About the only thing that will carry on from this movie. Thank God. As you can see, we got Star Trek-like cheap sets all around. And we see actually a really good match shot for a few seconds there as we see the characters in shot with the monsters. If only this sort of thing in the film would actually be the rule instead of the exception, it'd be a hell of a lot better. But no, we mostly get shots of them at Star Trek sets, and lots of really bad dialogue. Even in the Japanese version, the dialogue's pretty dry and stupid at times. In the American version, they have no clue what these monsters are. In the Japanese version, at least one of them recognizes Godzilla. Again, this movie wants to call it Gigantus. By the way, the man who headed this version of this film is a complete total inept dipshit who not only changed entire cast member names, but also claimed that only Toho wrote the story when he completely rewrote the son of a bitch, and gave it some of the worst dialogue just so it could match some lip movements. The two boys get back to the mainland in Osaka, and are then asked what they saw, and try and give as best details as they can. So, they quickly identify the fact that one of the monsters was Godzilla, and then go through a history book. By the way, I want this book. According to the horrible American dub, this book supposedly tells tales of the Anguirus monster family one day rising up and destroying all of humanity through nuclear weapons and the like. What a pile of shit. But it'd be hilarious. Just like go, this book tells us that giant monsters will come back and destroy us all. Well, after identifying both monsters, they're also shown footage from the previous movie, which is supposedly filmed by the scientist from the first movie, who also makes a guest appearance in this film. In the Japanese version of this film, he seems very afraid of what could happen yet again, because he's already survived one Godzilla attack. In the Americanized version, this guy has no clue what the hell a Godzilla is, and just has some random footage, and seems very, very bored. Which is what the audience is feeling towards this film right now.
That was tedious.
Oh, have I mentioned also the fact that this movie never shuts up?
How long does this narration last?
Oh, you want to see how bad it is? Take a look.
Here you see a member of the Anguirus family. All of man's instruments of defense have no effect on.
That was pointless.
No kidding.
It's all pointless junk nobody really cares about and can see on camera. Why would they do that?
Seriously? What the hell is this? I didn't even send this. What the hell? Minions! Report! How the crap get in there?
Master, apparently the video was provided by Matt himself.
Oh, Matt! You actually did this to yourself? Oh, who's to laugh?
Mouse is getting on the feed now too? Bugger you too! Just because I have it because it's a Godzilla film, damn it. Anyway, as the story continues to slowly pander on, it's said that the monsters are apparently not heading to Asuko, where the main group of people are, and they continue on their lives until suddenly they realize Godzilla and Anguirus are both heading towards Asuko and then have to actually do something. And while we get the development of the guys dropping off the lead female so that she's safe at home, but unable to be comforted by the pleasures that she has around her fur coat, the nice big house, and everything else. Kind of like the wives who were left behind during World War II. Only this time it's the two guys running back to defend a fishing cannery. Back at the cannery, things didn't go too well, but I will also note that, amusingly, the head boss here looks like he's very much dressed like Eiji Tsuburaya, the man who runs the special effects. Godzilla and Anguirus both sharing each other's roars for no damn good reason, finally duke it out and have a fight for a little bit.
It's not Godzilla's roar, this is.
After a bit more fighting, and some of it actually kind of looking a little weird. Thing is, with this particular weird, fast-paced look, they do mention the fact throughout the movie that they tend to be very vicious fighters when they get, especially when fighting one another, and they do actually have some accidentally speeded up film instead of being slowed down like it should have been. Mostly this is due to an accident, but references are made to this throughout the series, to be honest. Every once in a while, they'll have references to this speed of frame rate, so I can't really argue with it too much. It was even referenced in the more recent films, so. As you can obviously guess, the fishing cannery was destroyed, mostly due to the fact that there's a side plot involving prisoners escaping a prison vehicle. Why?
Yeah, absolutely. Useless criminals.
Well, there's at least one good joke to be had with this, Mike. Watch this! Oh, also, something else to note is that during the fight between Anguirus and Godzilla, there's this. These morons are going into a subway underneath giant monsters fighting.
Like the stupidest criminals, why would they go underground when there's a giant monster battle where potential things will fall on their heads and crush them?
Oh, should be noted that the special effect actually probably wouldn't have worked in color, but being that the film is black and white and they were on the quick budget that they were on for this film, it does look very nicely done. And despite all this, Godzilla's still out and about. The cannery group moves up to the north, only to be attacked by Godzilla yet again by accident. The guys that work with the fishing group would finally decide to actually help out the war effort to stop Godzilla as he heads further to the north.
And the only time the narration could have been helpful is when everyone's moving those oil barrels or whatever, getting ready for the big final fight. What are they doing? The narration could have told us what they were doing there. I mean, it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to be able to tell.
And long story short, one of our background characters gets killed. Main character suddenly has a realization, helps the army then cover Godzilla in ice in order to figure out how to place Godzilla in an iceberg in the next movie. So, good things about this film and the bad things. Let's start with the bad, shall we? This movie was rushed up really fast. This movie literally came out, I believe, within 5 months of the original Godzilla coming out in Japan. The intents for the Americanized version were really good originally, and then the company that was going to fund it went under, and then some jackass screwed it up and made this pile of goat shit with tons of stock footage and lots of just plain simple bullshit.
Oh, I know why he doesn't have a tail. Threw it at this piece of crap.
What was already a mediocre film could have been so much more in the hands of the right people in America. However, we gave it to some schlock idiot who bought it on a dime and just added crap to the point that it was beyond stupid. The Americanized version is not worth your watching unless you happen to have this particular DVD and listen to the commentary on it. Otherwise, stick to the Japanese version. The Japanese version, you still feel the growing pains of the script. But at the same time, it's still better than some of the stuff that came out at the time in America. So, give or take. Also, our main characters are really, really boring. And even at one point, calls one of the other characters stupid. Might add that George Takei for the dub, if you're really, really interested. George Takei, as well as the guy who voice acted Boris Karloff, both lend their talents to the audio of the Americanized version. Not like that helps it at all. But you can hear George Takei here and there, and alright. But only the diehards would ever watch this piece of shit. At least in that version. Stick with the Japanese version. The script is a bit thin. A lot of the characters we don't give a shit about. But the effects are good, and there's a hell of a lot less of the stock footage crap that got crammed in for the American version.
Thing for the next Godzilla, wait until you're actually in color, when you start getting better.